Also going to be looking a bit into some of the other sports, as this is a discussed over ice episode as opposed to just a sports talk one. We're going to talk a little bit about the main promotions in wrestling, but there is more significant stuff outside of the wrestling, which is certainly worth talking about. Particularly the WWE financial reports for this quarter, and the ratings, quote-unquote war between AEW and NXT, although I don't see it as a war, as they're giving us two completely different shows. Right, so we are probably just going to start ourselves off here with a nice easy mission. Just get some of that early money in. Okay. So the first thing that we should really talk about is the ratings of NXT and AEW from, once again, the quote-unquote war, aka two shows that just happen to be on the same day. That's as far as the war goes. NXT continuing their, I would say at this point, average numbers of between 700 and 800,000. AEW keeping up with their constant records of getting over 900,000 on average. And I've heard stuff about both shows. I heard a little bit about the NXT show. I'll admit I haven't actually watched it yet. I admit I haven't watched it yet. And I have watched AEW. I have to say, I know which one I preferred. I know which one I preferred by a country mile. Yeah. Get back to it in a second. So this was the ratings for the shows, supposedly unaffected by other sports. I'm not sure what the basketball season... Oh, for God's sake. I'm not sure what the basketball season's currently like, but I know the football, American football that is currently finished. And as we knew from the Super Bowl taking place the other day. So the excuses for the loss of viewers aren't really there anymore. Certainly not for now. So we're back to both promotions should be performing at what should be seen as their optimum audiences. The most amount of fans they will probably get watching it. And it will be interesting to see just how high the numbers do go, if they do indeed go any higher. I think they can. I'm still in a position where I strongly believe. I don't just believe it. I strongly believe that AEW and NXT can easily pull in over 2 million viewers on Wednesday nights between the two shows. I strongly believe that will have... Actually, I'll go as far to say as that probably would be happening if NXT decided to stay on the WWE network as opposed to coming to USA, because I believe all USA have done is they've successfully watered down the potential audience for AEW. I'm going to say at least 200,000 people who could potentially have got into watching AEW will not watch it now because they've been put into the mindset that this is a war. And if anyone is very well aware of the old Monday Night Wars, there's nothing more than this current generation would like more than to say they were a part of a war themselves. In my mind, it definitely won't be the same thing, but I think in these fans' mind, it is the same thing. And that's why we have all the current bullshit that we have when we discuss NXT versus AEW. And that's where we're going to drop it. We're going to drop it at the viewers, because that is part of the problem. The fact that we get the viewing numbers just adds to the competition, because it gives people facts that they can then throw in someone's face, which everyone likes to do. Everyone likes to have the fact and make someone look like a moron.
All right,
Hi there.
So the next big thing to probably talk about on top of that is the money side of things, money side of WWE, because people were very interested. They were very interested to see what NXT was doing. What was the deal with NXT? They're on TV, so there must be a TV deal. But there was also quite a strong rumor that the only reason that they had been moved to the network is because WWE had asked, and all that the current company did. Oh, sorry, I'm getting so sidetracked from playing this at the same time. I'm just talking garbage at this point. Right, so other company, WWE. So WWE got NXT put on network, USA network, that is, because, well, WWE have strong ties with the USA network. That's where SmackDown and Raw was both shown. Now just Raw, as SmackDown was bought by Fox. And we'll get into another rumor with Fox coming soon. So when NXT moved to USA network, there was a pretty strong assumption that that the money that USA Network was paying for SmackDown wouldn't be the same amount as they were paying for NXT, but there would still be money involved. And then the rumors kind of changed to, well, WWE, they only asked for to be put on the USA Network, and USA Network obliged because they were losing one of the other wrestling shows. So the next rumor that came out was to say that NXT was being put on the USA Network as a non-profit show, that they weren't being paid a television contract, but rather, as long as Raw was on the air, in the USA Network, and you know they're making money from that, that they would have no issue. Putting NXT on there, and that's what's happened. NXT got up. They went up fairly quickly. You know, by the time AEW got started, NXT had already been on TV for a month. So not only did they have the head start in existing for longer, but they also had the advantage on being for television for a little bit longer, plucking viewers at a time where maybe a lot of wrestling fans were gearing up to get back into wrestling. And then all of a sudden, a month before AEW comes, oh, there's NXT. So yeah, the rumor came out NXT was non-profit. And I believe from the reportings that the second rumor is true, that the USA Network isn't in fact paying a contract for NXT the same way as they are for Raw, the same way TNT now is for AEW. At first it wasn't, but in 3 months they were very quick to change that, and all of a sudden AEW became a profitable organization almost immediately, and not just a little bit profitable, highly profitable as well, which you have to say is pretty impressive. So NXT hasn't been profitable, although their stars were obviously very upset they didn't get bonuses because they're now on TV, so they thought their money should go up, so I believe their money has gone up. So NXT has more money being poured into it, but it's not making the same amount of money back. And now people are starting to complain that NXT's biggest problem is that they are in the same building, that they use Full Sail, which is the stadium they use all the time. And my argument is that that's maybe the only good thing NXT has going for it right now, because as soon as they start to move location, then I don't think they realize this, but right, people pay to go see a live AEW show, right? Not because they're all watching AEW and they're all brand new fans. A lot of these fans that are buying tickets in these arenas are fans who want to experience something new, right? NXT is not going to... That's not what they're there to do. They're not there to be something new. They're just there because they're there. Yeah, exactly, woman in GTA. The network sucks. So that's why they moved from there. So, getting a bit off track. So, yes, NXT, definitely non-profitable. WWE are making a profit, though. You can thank the Saudi Arabia money for that. But when it comes to live attendances, this is not just the live tours that they do, and I'm not just talking about house shows, I'm also talking about main pay-per-views and main televised shows. They are down, and they are down significantly. Like, they have lost a lot of money in some departments, that one being probably the most significant, in my opinion, definitely the most significant. And in some sectors they reported losses of more than $15 million, which, you know, you don't really need to be a financial officer to know that that's a lot of money. And that's not a good thing. And this is after the stock drop as well, and the stock drop really brought a new low to WWE, and I mean a low that I don't think people can quite comprehend, because it's gone quite I won't say unnoticed. It's just that in terms of drama, like, I feel like the world really reacted. They underreacted to the news of the stock, because that's far worse than the 15 million loss that they made in a couple of the sectors. Yeah, the stock drop was absolutely catastrophic to WWE. And sure, you know, they've already made some of that back because stocks change every day, right? But off the back of the news that WWE had sacked 2 of their chief officers, I'm led to believe they were in positions of financial influence. The stock dropped so much that the company technically lost $1 billion. Right, let's think about that for a moment. A company that's told that they're billionaires that should be trillionaires lost $1 billion, right? And they did this not through fans stopping, you know, purchasing. That's the other sectors. The stock drop that by that much, and the firings can all be held accountable to the board of directors of the WWE, Vince McMahon and co. And we know Vince McMahon's buying it because Vince McMahon has over 70% of the voting power in the WWE. I mean, it's his company. Why wouldn't you? But I mean, still, you know, senile old man making decisions is still a senile old man making decisions. And I see people all the day making the argument, you know, Vince is still a smart guy. Vince isn't an idiot. And it's like, okay, he's not an idiot, but he makes moronic decisions. I think that's fair, wouldn't you? I mean, another example of that, we'll just delve into this a little bit. Another example of this is Jericho talking about how Vince could have prevented the main wave of WCW all he had to do was give Scott Hall and I believe Kevin Nash the money they wanted, and they would have stayed. And Vince said, "No, go," and then they left. Same thing. Jericho tells Vince that he's going to sign this contract with AEW. Vince, like the petulant child that he is, tells Jericho to sign it. Jericho signs it. He gets another call from Vince. He asks if Jericho has signed it. Jericho says yes, and Vince says, "Can you get out of it?" Right? I mean, that's the sort of guy we're talking about here. Right? This is Vince McMahon, the man, not Vince McMahon, the guy who screwed Austin. Because let's get one thing right: Vince McMahon has never screwed Steve Austin. Look at Steve Austin's life. You know the name Steve Austin, right? So most definitely a character. I love how people still think that character Vince is Vince. It's really not. I think it's actually very fair to say that the character Vince is a much more genuine, kind person than the real Vince. So we've gone into a little bit of Vince, but yeah, that's the stupidity. So that's the sort of stupidity we're dealing with here. So he's fired these two financial officers, and the stock drops to an all-time low or something like that, or maybe not an all-time low, but at least a record low for some time. And yeah, like I said, basically, in short words, they lost $1 billion. And I don't care how much revenue you get from Saudi Arabia, losing $1 billion is not something that you can recover in a year. That $1 billion is something that'll take WWE maybe a decade to recuperate. Unless they have another big financial boom, and the only way I think they could do that is if they spent a whole year in Saudi Arabia. Every Raw, every SmackDown, every pay-per-view was in Saudi Arabia. So then when WWE finally came back to the USA, their US fans would finally start paying them more money and be glad that they're back. Like a sight for sore eyes, if you will. And they'll be rolling in the money that Saudi Arabia would have, got for them. So there's your business idea, WWE, and obviously ethically that's not a good decision, but if they want to recover this money, that is what they're going to have to do. And how are they going to begin by starting this financial recoup? Well, the new spicy rumor is that WWE are selling off the rights to pay-per-views. And what this means is that if you are a network subscriber, and you are only a network subscriber for the pay-per-views, well, you might as well unsubscribe soon, because we are getting reports that WWE is looking to sell pay-per-views like SummerSlam, like the Royal Rumble, like WrestleMania, basically the pay-per-views that they'll get the biggest dollar for, and they will be taken off the network and put onto these private other networks, including the likes of ESPN. Which sounds like a fantastic deal, and it is for their US fans, but for us British fans, I'm definitely taking it as another big fuck you from Vince McMahon, who really couldn't care less about any other country if they're not America, and very vaguely Canada. Vince McMahon and his company care about Americans, because that's what it... Look, he's an avid Donald Trump supporter, right? The WWE was only going to be all about... It was only ever going to be all about Americans, right? It's always been like that, right? The Monday Night War wasn't something that happened in Britain. It was something that happened in America. So I have a different fan experience to most wrestling fans anyway. But if WWE starts selling their main pay-per-views off the WWE network, then I'm just going to unsubscribe. I've been threatening for a while to unsubscribe, right? And the reason I don't is because I know if I want to watch a pay-per-view from WWE, because I love the Royal Rumble, I love WrestleMania, I might shit on WWE all the time, but I became a wrestling fan somehow. And believe me, it wasn't because I heard of New Japan, it wasn't because I had a premonition that AEW would exist 5 or 10 years from when I started to get into wrestling, I got into it because of the WWE. WWE made me a wrestling fan, but at the same time, they equally made me hate wrestling. I got into wrestling, and about 2 years ago, I decided I hated it. Every time I heard anything about WWE, I was like, oh, this is painful. Oh, this sucks. Oh, I hate it. Why is this happening? Why is wrestling so shit like this? I mean, it's such a beautiful sport. Why is there so much drama? And then I go to the internet. I discover New Japan. I discover AEW's formation. I discover Ring of Honor, who I'd heard about anyway, because I heard wrestlers like Samoa Joe, Adam Cole, and CM Punk discuss Ring of Honor before, so I knew about them vaguely. Yeah, MLW, NWA Power started quite recently. That one's an also epic wrestling show. And yeah, you know, WWE made me the fan, so don't think I'm just ragging on them for the hell of it. I'm ragging on them because there is plenty to rag at WWE about. Plenty. So financially, the company is not going out of business. They're not going to go out of business. But by God, they are losing money, and they are going to continue to lose money. As long as they have to cut back on their shows, as long as they have to cut back on their network, which is just going to continue to cut back subscribers, which has been going on anyway. And yeah, they just need to pick up their shit. They just need to work on their shit. They just need to really just, they need to back off and let their wrestlers wrestle. That's what it comes to. Let them do the stories that inspire them. Just let them do what they want to do. Hey gents, how's it going? Just going for a light swim. Get up that cardio. We should probably take off the hat. I can't believe that was just asked. There we go, that's better. Nice. Okay. Another thing that we were told to believe financially, going to the other company now, this time going to AEW, just to give you a vague idea of how well that company is doing. The basics is AEW were not really earning that much in the beginning. In fact, they were non-profitable. Like, this was Tony Khan taking a gamble, but it was going to be a very prolonged gamble because the fans were making spending enough money anyway. Spending enough money to make it keep going. And what happened last month was TNT basically said, you are overachieving. the fans kind of knew this. Everyone was kind of under the impression that TNT were extremely happy with the success of AEW. No one predicted just how happy they were, because in January, so we're 3 months into AEW at this point, they sign an extension. That means AEW will be on TNT until the year 2023. More than this, they will be doing it officially as a profitable project, as TNT have really let the reins go with the money, and I believe they've either paid $25 million a year for AEW, or they're paying $35 million a year. The original rumor was that the AEW shows were costing about $400,000 or something like that to put on, which doesn't sound right to me. It's probably a lot less than that. But mind you, you include talent contracts, you never know. So apparently, you know, this is all the people who are being negative about AEW talking about how it will die out. Main reason was because of the price of the venues. Again, this quote from many people claiming that it was $400,000 per show, and 52 weeks a year, you know, times that by 400,000, you get yourself you got just over 20 million there. So that's just over $20 million dollars in putting on the shows, right? So if this deal is $35 million a year, which I think it is now that I'm starting to say it, take away 20 million, you still got 15 million. Take away the contracts, it's a lot less than WWE's contract stuff. You know, they're spending millions and millions and millions on their talent. AEW are spending a couple of million. You know, so we'll max it out with new signings, and we'll say AEW spending, we'll say $5 or $6 million on talent, right? That leaves them with about $10 million a year to play around with. And they're making money from merchandise, they're making money from the pay-per-views. People have been bitching that their pay-per-view numbers have been terrible. They've not been terrible, right? They have not been terrible. They have been anything but fucking terrible. They have been so good in retrospect, especially in the States. For the States, they earn about $5 million per pay-per-view so far. They've earned about $5 million from buys alone. And then you've got your ticket sales, and then you've got, again, like I said, merchandise, licensing, you've got all that, you know. The AEW trademark is now worth a lot of money. It's basically the point. The company now means something. They don't just mean something in the wrestlers' hearts, because the wrestlers know that AEW is the reason why they're getting offered more money for less dates, because that's what AEW are basically offering. Not so much the more money, but the less dates, the better health, the being able to see your family way more than you used to. You know, that sort of thing. That sort of thing is very important. But now, because the brand's got value, it's now not just that. Now people aren't just going, oh, if I want to enjoy my career, I'll go here. People are now going to end up saying, well, I can enjoy my career there and make a name for myself. And people can't say no one's making a name for themselves in AEW. I mean, someone tell me, right, that Jungle Boy is not a bigger star already. Someone tell me that Darby Allin is not a big star already. Darby Allin right now is hotter with wrestling fans more than most WWE wrestlers right now. Like I see it all the time. You see these wrestlers and they gloat about how many followers they've got. You know, they've got millions of followers, but they're still getting the same amount of likes and retweets and comments as someone with like 40,000. And it's because their audience is more engaged. Because that's normal with WWE. You're not supposed to engage with the stars in WWE. Because when you engage with the stars in WWE, they're not the characters that they're portraying. Because the characters they're portraying aren't them. the characters that they've got are characters given to them, right? It's unnatural. So when you meet the real person, you go, oh, well, that is totally not what I was expecting. And then all of a sudden you feel disconnected, right? But Darby is Darby. You know what he's all about. You know what he's going to be like in real life, right? But that's fine, because that's him. If you follow Darby Allin, you want to meet Darby Allin, you know what you're going to get. A year ago, if you go to meet Seth Rollins, I bet you'd expect a really nice, down-to-earth, just solid, professional guy. And you know, he might be a professional, but boy, is that guy a fucking dick. Boy, is he a dickhead, and he loves it too. He knows it. What a prick Seth Rollins is, right? And yeah, you know, he was forced off Twitter. I mean, he came back, and immediately people aren't rushing to subscribe to him like they were before, because no one cares. Because no one cares about... No one cares. That's as simple as that. People... The stars in AEW have fans that genuinely care about the stars. And I'm not saying that this is the case for every WWE fan, because I know there's WWE fans out there that care. Boy, do they care. Because they have to look stupid, because in order to defend WWE sometimes you've got to say some really stupid shit to defend them, because they do make stupid decisions, as we've already said. My car's not here. Where's my car?
Hello, this is Morse Mutual Insurance. I'll do my best.
15 grand?
MMI, we expect the unexpected. I think we can do that.
Okay. Definitely went on a tangent with that. So basically, I don't know if I'm trying to remember where my original conversation started. It boils down...
We're here to help. I'll look into it.
To AEW is a completely different animal to WWE right now. That's why things are the way they are. So that is a nice little bow there, talking about the financials and a little bit of the stuff outside of the ring with wrestling, AEW and WWE. I would cover New Japan, but I don't watch New Japan as religiously as I watch AEW, and it's not crammed down my throat as WWE unfortunately is. I don't know which card to take. Fuck it, we'll take the flashy one. I say flashy one. It's my tackiest. Maybe I should go back to casino. I don't know what to do. Maybe I'll just stand in the strip club and just have a couple of drinks. I don't know. I really don't know what I'm in the mood to do. Fuck it, we'll just go back to the casino. It's very interesting. Okay, so we've moved on. We talked about the financial sides, we talked about stuff outside, talk a little bit of the stuff inside. We're going to start with AEW. AEW is always a good place to start. Very good place to start. So, this past week, a couple of good matches, couple of very good matches, more stories told, and the continuity at this point is fabulous. And we've also got a big question mark over a very controversial faction who may be about to split up already. And I'm not talking about the Dark Order, and the reason I'm not is because, well, one, I don't think they're controversial, and two, they are way more embedded in AEW than you know already. They've done their job already, and you don't even realize it, because now you buy into the fact that anyone could be a member of the Dark Order. So I'm talking about the Nightmare Collective, and that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with the big question mark, the Nightmare Collective. So Nightmare Collective has been getting, I don't want to even say mixed opinions from fans. It's been getting largely negative. It's been a negatively received concept. And it's not so much the idea and the fact that it is the women's division, as some people are putting the blame on, which I think is absolutely pathetic. It has more to do with the fact that the Dark Order is there. You know, people don't want the women doing something which is basically seen as the same thing that the men are doing. And if they are going to do it, they certainly shouldn't have tried to introduce it at the same time, because people will only take one or the other right now. You know, they'll go, no, you either go with this or you go with this. Don't give us both. We don't want both. These are the same fans that are also demanding content all the time. But anyway, yeah. Nightmare Collective has been in this dodgy position. People want to get behind Awesome Kong. People just want to cheer Brandy because she's Cody's wife. Cody's such a babyface. Therefore, Brandy should be the babyface wife next by his side, like she's good at doing. She did it on the indies. She did it everywhere else. It worked. They should have just implemented it right here. And the last show was a very brief example of what I'm talking about. Brandy comes out right at the end of the segment of Cody being whipped, which we'll get to in later. But Brandy comes out very briefly to comfort Cody. And in that 10 seconds, she got more over with that crowd than she has with any other crowd since they've began. Since the first or second show, whenever it was that Brandy decided she had gone heel and had partnered her and had aligned herself with Awesome Kong, because I know she was with Cody when Cody and Sammy opened up AEW on the very first show. This is gonna bust. Yeah. And then they are currently trying to play this angle that she might have hit her head in that match with Sammy and Cody. They're also maybe looking into the angle that some people try to create a fake persona when they're scared or when they feel like they have to hide. This is all part of a lot of videos come out recently about Brandy Rhodes going to see a shrink who's not really a shrink. It's a doll on a couch. So that was the first time Brandy had been face since day one, basically. Literally since day one. This was like the first time she had been face. The crowd loved it. She only went out there to comfort Cody, but it felt right. It felt natural. Because Brandy and the Nightmare Collective did not feel natural. And the fans were so quick to pick up on that now I think they might be backtracking. I was a little quick to dismiss the fact that they would be disbanding the Nightmare Collective already. But I've got to say, Dark, the last episode of AEW Dark, kind of gave me a little bit more... It added more fuel to that fire that they are indeed going to stop, and that they are going to... Sorry, I'm completely losing track here. Too many good things going on at once. I've completely lost my track of thought now. What was I talking about? Oh yes, Brandy Rhodes and all that. So yes, on Dark, what happened, for those of you that don't want spoilers, and this isn't the Dark of the week just past, this is the Dark which has already been uploaded to YouTube and to Fight TV. Mel, who is the tall member of the Dark Order, the tall woman who had her head shaved, she had a match with Hikaru Shida. This was a lot better than her tag team match with Hikaru Shida, Statlander and Brandy, but as we know, that match was very much put together in the last minute because Awesome Kong had the illness and she had to pull out of the match. So, I mean, it is fairly unfair to say it was a scrappy match, but look, it wasn't a great match, you know. There's good reasons for it, and That's okay, you know, that's okay. But, yeah, you know, it is what it is. So on Dark, Mel has a match with Hikaru Shida. Shida beats Mel. So Mel, this imposing, tall woman, maybe the biggest woman in the AEW women's roster. She's definitely, I think she might have a height advantage over the likes of Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley. If not Charlotte, definitely Rhea. But this woman's now lost twice, and she's lost twice. She's now been pinned by Hikaru Shida in singles and pinned by Kris Statlander in the tag match. Very frustrated by this. Awesome Kong, who was standing at ringside along with Luther, they were causing distractions throughout the match, still couldn't help Mel. Awesome Kong was then, I guess, bullying? I guess he was sort of picking on Mel, you know, like the child that screwed up, you know, like pushing the back of her head and just sort of shoving her along towards the entrance ramp of the arena. And then Mel shoves her back. And Brandy's not here, might we add. So this is just the three of them without Brandy. Kong turns around, a little bit surprised by Mel. Mel's just got her arms out by her, like, come at me. You know, she's like, come at me to Awesome Kong. Then Luther does that thing where he points to the mark on his head and grabs Awesome Kong's arms. And then Mel and Luther proceed to beat the shit out of Awesome Kong. So what I dismissed as, oh, there's no way they'll disband the Nightmare Collective already. I mean, it would feel like that is, you know, it wouldn't feel genuine. It would feel like, okay, this is being removed because the fans don't like it. Not, oh, this might coincide with this. It's people who are actually thinking, what the fuck are you looking at? Creep. Right, anyway. So yeah, they hit Kong a few times, they throw her into a barricade. At first the barricade supports her weight, and then it thumps down, and it looked like she hit her head. But she got up fine after. Mel threw her on the stairs on the ringside. Then Luther and Mel collectively stretch Kong out over the top of these stairs. They haven't disconnected them. So Kong sort of on top of the stairs, sort of part of her body being leaned into the ring post. Luther keeps her in a stretched out position. Mel goes to the ropes, goes to the apron, and does a leg drop from the ring apron onto the steps onto Awesome Kong. And the last we heard was a doctor saying that Kong at worst has suffered a slip disc, and she will be out for the remaining future. Now, I believe the injury is kayfabe, and for those of you that don't know what that means, it means within the story. Kayfabe is within the story, within the fantasy that is wrestling. We believe the injury is that because she is scheduled to go off and start filming Glow again. Glow being the female wrestling show that's on Netflix. And is it anywhere else? I'm not sure. I know it's on Netflix. Real name Kia Stevens, for those of you who don't know, is Awesome Kong. So she will be leaving. And I'm not sure if this... I'm not sure about this, you know, because, I mean, it could be kayfabe. Maybe she is injured. Maybe she's not going off to film. Maybe this is the end of the Nightmare Collective already. I mean, if Brandy is going face, in and out of being face, Kong's gone, and Mel and Luther have turned on Kong anyway. I mean, there's not much else left to do. You know, there's not much else left to do with them. I mean, it gets tough. It gets tough thinking about the NC because they were in such an unpopular position. But I don't believe that has anything to do with the talent. I think that just has to go... I think it's all completely to do with Brandy. I think people wouldn't have minded the Nightmare Collective angle if they had maybe a different name, because I'm guessing the Nightmare in Nightmare Collective, you know, comes from Brandy being a member of the Nightmare family. But I mean, Luther, Mel, Awesome Kong, I mean, they could have put a good faction together, but people didn't connect to it because there's a very prominent face in Brandy Rhodes just went heel. And again, they've been passing off the angle, as I said, of the hit on the head, of trying to create a false persona. But I'm not sure how they're going to translate that from Brandy going insane in a therapy room to her then going face on television to then presumably her just going face completely and either disbanding or walking out of the Nightmare Collective. And this is definitely the angle. I mean, there's plenty other stuff to talk about from this show, but this is the thing that I'm hung up on the most because I simply don't know what's going to happen. Anything could happen. At this moment in time, having talked to friends, having thought about it myself, I'm usually thinking about it.
Paige Harris.
Awesome Kong is going to be away for a while. Brandy, I think everyone will want her to stay face because her coming out with that bit of emotion from Cody, I mean, it's different, you know, because I think if Brandy had just come out as a face, say if the Nightmare Collective had never happened, right? And we take that lashing segment from the end of AEW and Brandy had never gone heel, then that emotional moment technically never would have happened. It wouldn't have happened. Because we wouldn't have felt the emotion. So we'll say Brandy goes face, okay? Well, let's just say she's going to go face so that she can be with Cody for the Revolution match. People will like that. Awesome Kong is going to be away for a while. People aren't going to like that, but it's not really like they have a choice. Luther and Mel look like they're going to stick together. Now, they could stick together and maybe keep the Nightmare Collective going with just the two of them, which would be quite interesting, actually, now that I think about it, because then they might have to do a rebuild job. The sort of thing that Brandy created could come back to haunt her someday. I do like that. The other thing is this is the more bizarre one. This is the one I don't agree with. The other thing that I've seen is Mel and Luther will join the Dark Order. I think if Mel and Luther were to join the Dark Order, the backlash would be huge. It wouldn't be as huge as it was if it was Brandy and Awesome Kong, because they're the two names that are sort of carrying the Nightmare Collective. But I think them going to the Dark Order would be suicide for their positions at the moment. So we can hope that that doesn't happen. I certainly hope that doesn't happen. Okay, so that's enough talking about the Nightmare Collective. We've talked a lot about them so far. I've actually managed to talk about them a little bit more than I was expecting to, especially considering a lot of that, you know, sort of gives away stuff that happened on Dynamite. I could do this in any order, to be honest. Most of the show was fucking good, if I'm being honest. Some people were bitching, but I'm not sure why. I mean, that was one of the best Dynamites I've seen for a while. So, probably should start it off the way it started off. Full disclosure, first I'll give you a list of the dark matches that will be taking place next Tuesday on Dark that were pre-recorded this week. 4 matches again, which I love to see. Gotta have that content, gotta get those wrestlers doing what they do best. I won't post the results, I'll just list the matches. We have Hikaru. Is it Hikaru Shida? I think it is. I think Shida has another match on Dark against a debuting, a new debuting female star called Cassandra Golden. This girl, very, very unknown, and I'm not talking like a couple thousand followers unknown, I'm talking a couple hundred followers unknown. Well-built black lassie. She looks pretty good. I'm not sure if it was a squash match. I've heard that it wasn't a squash match, that it actually went on for a while, so who knows, maybe she beat Shida, maybe Shida won again, I'm not sure. But that's the first match. Cassandra Golden and Hikaru Shida. We're also going to get Jimmy Havoc versus Sonny Kiss. Very happy to see Jimmy Havoc again, because I am a big fan of Jimmy Havoc. Sonny Kiss, I'm a fan of Kiss, but I think he's being put in the wrong sort of matches. He's been given a couple of matches with Brandon Cutler now. I don't want Sonny Kiss to turn into a sort of jobber stereotype, because fans will stereotype wrestlers as jobbers before they've even, you know, become proper jobbers. I mean, look at Alex Reynolds and John Silver. Like, everyone was saying, oh, those are the biggest jobbers in AEW, and it's like, really? I mean, they've lost 4 times. John Silver's lost 3 times in total. Alex Reynolds has lost 4 times in total. Like, Jungle Boy and many other guys have lost more than 3, but yet somehow they're the jobbers. It's like, okay, yeah, so we don't want her to fall under that category. We don't want him to come under that category. That's my worry. We definitely don't want that, because I do another argument, and I'm just throwing this out there, right? I need people to stop saying that AEW needs a mid-card title, because by you saying that AEW needs a mid-card title, it means that you have decided which talent shouldn't be main event caliber talent, and I don't think that's very fair. I think everyone should get a chance, because I mean, if there was a mid-card title, in my mind, your favorites are like Kip Sabian, is Christopher Daniels, Hangman Page. But at the same time, it's like, well, what if Kip Sabian won the WWE World title? I mean, would that really be such a bad thing? And people would go, well, maybe not. So let's stop pigeonholing people as jobbers or mid-carders before we even get to that point, okay? Like, let's get at least a year in of TV before we start making assumptions over who the main jobbers are. Peter Avalon could go on a winning streak next week. We don't know, you know? So let's just get that done. That's gone. That's out of the way. I'm going to start us off with the opening match and another great story we've got going on in AEW right now. Jon Moxley versus the Inner Circle, or to be more specific, in this particular fight, it was Jon Moxley versus Ortiz. Ortiz from Proud and Powerful. Ortiz wrestling in his first singles match for almost 5 years, almost 4 years, one of the two. Yeah, him and Santana, much like the Young Bucks, they don't do singles matches often. Very much made their names on tag team matches, so this was Moxley going up against a guy who hasn't done a singles match in a very, very long time. And you honestly wouldn't think it, ladies and gentlemen, because Ortiz is that good, he is that entertaining, and Jon Moxley is also that good, and just so damn convincing. Like, in that match, Ortiz definitely added most of the humor value, because he is quite funny. Ortiz, not just the hair, but, you know, the way he does his flying headbutt, the way he sells certain moves. Ortiz is a very interesting character, but he's extremely entertaining, which is the big difference. You know, you can get an interesting guy who you think, he's a bit weird, and then you get a guy who goes, he's a bit weird, but by God, I love it when he wrestles. You know, quite different. So, Ortiz and Moxley, very good match. Saw the Tiger Style, as it's now being called, for Ortiz. And it's a shame that Jushin Thunder Liger retired, because I think Tiger Style versus Liger Style would have been a very entertaining match. Just me. John Moxley wins after a good match. Again, this wasn't a burial. This was a very good match. Ortiz was made to look very good. His teamwork with Santana was emphasized even further. This was a very well put together match. It emphasized the strength of both guys, and Moxley continues this hot winning streak heading into Revolution. And spoilers of my predictions, I think the fact that Moxley is winning so much right now means he's not going to win the title at Revolution. Yeah, you've heard me. I don't think John Moxley is going to win at Revolution. I will get to that some other day, or maybe by the end of the video. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, another win for John Moxley. He takes his current total to 4-0 for this year, maybe 5-0. Still just the one defeat and the one draw. So he's John Moxley is still pretty much your top guy. Him and Jericho are your best singles records in AEW. In the men's side, at least, you know. On the women's side, it's Riho. So yes, John Moxley being pushed like an absolute grizzly bear, but I don't think he'll win the title. It was a good match. Post-match angle now. I talked about how Santana was there ringside helping out Ortiz. Well, this came to bite him in the ass, because not only was all this going on, but the rest of the inner circle were also in and around the commentary table. Now, I believe this happened before the match. Yeah, we had all of them. It was Jericho, it was Hager, and it was Guevara. I think Hager just stood there like he always does, and Guevara and Jericho were on the mics. If not both, it was at least Jericho. All of a sudden, before I'm looking at the ring, because I was probably looking at my phone or something, I'm hearing Jericho start to freak out after the match with with Moxley and Ortiz. And I see Moxley dangling the keys, the car keys. Well, I'm thinking, well, he's taunting them. You know, he's not a way to destroy them. I mean, he could destroy them, maybe to just solidify that he's crazy and that he'll do anything. I don't know. I wasn't sure what was a way to happen. And then it turned out to be one of those flip keys where you press the button and the actual key pops out of the plastic holder. And then it dawned on me, oh shit, he's a way to go take someone's eye out. You know, an eye for an eye, just like someone did. There's going to be another guy walking around with an eye patch, or as it would later be, a bandana, because the man who got stabbed, not to create a shitty rhyme, but it was true, was Santana. So it was strange. Because to me, I mean, this sort of stuff, I mean, it kind of gets over. I guess I'm so used to seeing the bizarre stuff of WWE that I'm just like over most of this stuff. Like, not over in a good way, over as in like I'm done with it. But I think it's being done in such a way that I'm interested. I'm interested because Moxley is still brand new to me, and he's got his own eye patch, and now, you know, this rivalry isn't just with Chris Jericho anymore. Yes, Jericho brought in the inner circle, you know, because it's his inner circle, so if Jericho's got a problem with anyone, you've got a problem with the inner circle. But Moxley is genuinely, though, making personal beef with the other members of the inner circle. He beat Ortiz. He's beaten Guevara. He's had the match with Guevara. Apparently that was... Wait, has he had the match with Guevara? Did he have... I'm sure he had the match with Guevara. Yeah. Right, anyway. Yeah, now he's got the match with... God, this music is terrible. Now he's got the match with... He's got the match with Santana in what's being booked as an eye for an eye match, which I don't understand, because if they both only have one working eye now, then surely the loser of that match would then be blind. You know, I'm guessing. Who knows? I'm intrigued, and that's what matters. But he's making this personal beef with all these members of the inner circle. He's got Guevara, he's got the match with Jericho, he's now got a match with Santana. So does this mean that at long last we are going to see a Jake Hager match? And I'm not saying that I'm like hyped for it, not hyped like I would be for an Omega title match, but Hager's gotta have a fight. Because we're now getting to the point, right? And people were making the comparison to Hager and Wardlow before. But now, I mean, the fact that neither of them have wrestled at all.
Look here, the president of the motorcycle club.
Hang on, sending a message. But yeah, Wardlow and Hager are being treated similarly. Did I leave a car outside? No, I stole a car. That's right. Oh, my bike's still gone. Fuck. So Hager and Wardlow, neither have wrestled. They're both security guards.
Okay, you're gonna collect this product for these people. The Aztecas got the stuff. Just pick it up and drop it off. Easy.
I mean, there's just too much in common. Both silent, both security guards, both haven't wrestled, both strong guys. The only thing which will separate them, which thankfully is happening quite soon, is Cody versus Wardlow in the steel cage match. This is actually very important for Wardlow, because this is Wardlow's debut. As I said, he hasn't wrestled yet, so Wardlow getting his debut in a steel cage with Cody in Cody's home state, or even hometown maybe. I mean, what a way to make your debut. I don't even think you could give Wardlow a pay-per-view match that would get him over as this match would. Because if he beats Cody, he's going to be a huge heel. If he loses to Cody, you still know that in this match, he's the one that's going to be throwing Cody around. So he's going to get over in victory, but he's still going to get over in defeat, even if he doesn't win. Like, this is a good match. I'm very happy with the booking of Wardlow now, because the dude is jacked, and I've seen the dude wrestle. He's no slouch. He's not a big, clumsy oaf. This dude has some serious body control. Like, he is a good, solid dude, and there's very little reports of him ever injuring people as well. When you've got a big guy who can throw people around without injuring them, you have something incredibly special. Because now you're in, like, yeah, you're now in, like, the great big man conversation. And Hager, I think people will be a bit cautious with Hager, because they did do the spot with the car door with Hager and Dustin Rhodes' arm, and Dustin Rhodes' arm was genuinely fractured. It wasn't done for kayfabe reasons. He was genuinely injured, and I think maybe that's the reason why they postponed the Hager-Dustin fight. I don't know, but there's something other than MMA which is holding Jake Hager back, and I'm not sure what it is. But I am almost 1,000% sure that we will find out soon. Come on, you dick, move.
Holy crap!
Ah. Oh shit. Ah. Don't shoot me, don't shoot me. Yes. Okay. Yeah. I'm not excited about Hager debuting because I wasn't really that mesmerized with the likes of Jack Swagger anyway. I was never a massive fan. I thought he was a bit lumbersome in himself. Oh, I keep getting messages at such bad times. For God's sake, they're going to start shooting me. Right, sorry. Yeah. So Wardlow, I'm getting actually pretty excited talking about it. Wardlow versus Cody is going to be a very, very good fucking match, and I am so looking forward to it. I also hope I'm going to be the heel in the room, guys. I want Wardlow to win because Wardlow needs this more than Cody, and I need AEW to start to think about this, because their fans, right, will always stick by AEW, right? There will be AEW fans that'll kiss AEW's ass no matter what they do. That's fine. Do it. Do the ass kissing. It's ass kissers like you that are going to keep this company afloat. So be proud, right? But we can't keep pushing Cody when Cody is no longer in a position to win the world title. This goes back to our conversation with the mid-card title. We can push Cody when there's a mid-card title, but world title, Cody is not in a position to win it. Because he can't. He's told the world that he can't and he won't. And that's a hell of a thing to get out of once you've promised it. So I just think we need to start easing back on the wins for Cody. If not the wins for Cody, because I get we still need to make him look like a beast, but we need to ease back on how much we're using Cody in matches. Right? People pop for Cody when he gives up a promo. Cody's promos alone are straight fire. You know, Cody is the full package. He's one of the full package guys they've got at AEW. They're using him very well at the moment, but with the exception of all these extra things. Like, there was a match between him and Darby. You might remember it. It was the first scheduled show of the year. And, Darby Allin versus Cody, the rematch that went to a time limit draw, all the way back in Fyter Fest. That's how long ago this story went. Darby took Cody to the limit. They got the draw, so they put Darby over in that moment. Very good, very good. But then when Cody brought in Arn as a manager, as a coach, sorry. All of a sudden, my mind went, well, hang on, that's kind of a heel move, don't you think? I mean, sure, the crowd is going to cheer them like a babyface because it's Arn Anderson and it's Cody Rhodes, but it's a very heel move to do. So then all of a sudden I went, I guess Cody's going to beat Darby. And then Cody went and he beat Darby. And he did it coming out as the face because Darby started to do heel stuff himself. Not so much heel, it was... When Darby was doing it, it was more showing his personality. I think people are willing to accept that Darby will get down and dirty because that's the sort of guy he is. He's the guy who bridges between the good and the bad, a little bit like Jeff Hardy in that way. I'm sure he's sick of being compared to Jeff Hardy, but to me, I mean, that's a compliment. You know, I'm not saying he's a bit of this, a bit of that, and a bit of that, because that's when you know you haven't done a good job, when you're reminding everyone of a collection of people. But if everyone's like, my God, you're like a complete, like, yeah, people are comparing him to Jeff Hardy, but we know he's nothing like Jeff Hardy. But it's just the mental vibe, I guess, is there. Just a vibe you get from him, just to feel the that connection with the crowd. So get this great thing for Darby, have him do some heel stuff so Cody still comes out the babyface, but Cody hasn't been a babyface since the whipping. He sort of lost being a heel until I'm getting tripped. He kind of lost being a face until the whipping. The whipping sort of brought it back. People went, oh yeah, you know, this is Cody, the good guy, he's being whipped, I actually feel bad for him. And only heartless people can tell me that they didn't feel anything for that, because Brandy coming out for Cody did bring a tear to my eye. I'm man enough to admit that, because that's what it was designed to do. And they did it very well. I don't mind being worked if I'm worked in a good way. You know what I mean? Like, we all know that Steve Austin wasn't, you know, God, but people still revered him as a god. We like it. That was a poor example. But you know what I mean. You're like, it works. So, we were talking about Cody. Might as well just go straight into that Cody whip thing then. Cody was getting whipped by MJF. Very emotional, very draining, and a hell of an experience for fans. You include the bravado and the entrances. We're talking about just under 20 minutes of content to see this thing through. And it was a long ride. It felt like a long ride. I actually say it felt like a long ride. It felt like the length of a match. So they did pretty good in that. It didn't feel like... because you can get segments in WWE that go on for 10, 15 minutes, and fans are like, oh, they've been talking for an eternity. And then they find out it was only 10 minutes. Yeah, that felt like it happened for about... It felt like it all happened in about 5 minutes. You know, it felt like a good segment. And it's only when I saw it uploaded to YouTube I was like, wow, it was that long? I was none the wiser. I didn't have a clue. Ooh. Actually, now that I'm here, I might go to the arcade first. Even though it's back the way I literally just came. Then we'll get to talking over ice with a couple of drinks, I suppose. So yeah, Cody's being whipped. If you haven't seen the condition he's in now, his back, oof, bruises. He got cut up. He did get cut. Everyone thought it was just him being dramatic when they said that, you know, he would bleed from it. You know, he bled. Not like Dustin levels of bleeding. Hang on. I'm in no rush now anyway. I've got a missus. I need a text her. We're all in that position. Whether you're a guy or a girl. So. Oof, that was a bad camera angle. That almost went horribly wrong. There's not really much I can say about the whipping more than I already have. I would just say go watch it. Because if I start describing it, it will take me back into the moment and I will get distracted thinking about it. Because you really, when you were watching it, you couldn't take your eyes off it because Cody... Right, we know that it hurts. It'll hurt. You know, it'll sting, it'll nip, and it cuts hurt. Being whipped fucking hurts, right? This isn't gimmicked. Like, it's a real belt. It's real whipping with a real belt. This is legit. How kids used to be punished and by their teachers and their parents. This is real shit. And yeah, you know, as a millennial, you sort of go, well, fuck. That was pretty gnarly. You know. And yeah, it is exactly that. So I'd go watch it. If it's one of those things that it doesn't make you love Cody more, it doesn't make you hate... Well, it does make you hate MJF more, especially when he gave one of his swings to Wardlow, and Wardlow just fucking... Oh. Like, if you look at Cody's body, you can tell which one was Wardlow's shot, because... Oh... Man, oh, so brutal. Yeah, like I said, I've taken myself back there. I've just been thinking about it. God. It's over. It's over. That's the main thing. It's over. It's not as dramatic as I'm making it out to be, but it's just I like Cody Rhodes, and that was painful. You know, I will say that. I got so sidetracked. This talking about AEW is going to take me a long time. We'll talk about we'll talk about a short match. There's a lot to talk about though, because of the situation of the two women involved. The women's match that we got presented with on TV this week was the return of Yuka Sakazaki, the Dynamite debut of Yuka Sakazaki, and they couldn't even get her original music right, which is such a letdown. So Yuka Sakazaki made her AEW debut. She did very good. She did very, very good. For the couple of minutes that they did. Yeah, that was brutal. So yeah, Yuka Sakazaki comes back. They didn't even get her music right, which was a shame, because I think people are more infectiously bothered by the music, but her personality is just as infectious. So Yuka came out with a heel Britt Baker. Britt Baker has gone from being the hottest face in the women's division to then feeling left behind to now feeling like the strongest heel in the women's division, certainly on the mic. And she's had to reinvent herself within a couple of months. But I say, I don't class it as a reinvention, because when Britt Baker came, she wasn't on the already thought out plan. She was just the first woman who signed to the company. That was it. She was the first woman that signed to the company. And all those things that were saying, you know, they sounded like face things, but they're kind of heel things, you know. Like, that's the sort of things you'd hear heels say, you know, I was the first to sign, so this is my division, you've all been signed based off my talent. You know, because I set the bar just by writing my name on the list, you know, sort of thing. And she's a dentist, and people don't like the dentist, right? But she doesn't get gimmicky with it. You know, she's not going around with her tools, looking in people's mouths, which is what WWE would have her do, right? This is when people need to stop saying that Britt Baker is just a gimmick, because let's face it, this isn't the same sort of gimmicks that people were getting sick and tired of. The woman is a legit doctor. She is smart enough to incorporate it into her work so it isn't corny. She found the submission move based on the mandibular nerve, which I thought was genius. When everyone first started saying mandibular, you should have heard everyone was just like, what? What is that? And I'm just going, oh, that's genius. What does that mean? What does that mean? It's just like, oh, it's just, you know, a nerve. It's just a nerve in the mouth. It's just something so simple. It sounds complicated, but it's not. It's actually very simple. And now all she's got is it a triangle lock? What is that classed as? I suppose what her move basically is a more sturdy bank statement, but with a mandible claw touch to it. And if you didn't figure that out, mandible claw, mandibular nerve, even Mankind was over that shit, you know. Even Mankind's a smart ass motherfucker. Yeah, so Britt Baker and Yuka, they put on about 3 minutes of a match. So it sounds like a squash match. Until I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that Yuka won. Yuka Sakazaki got the win over Britt Baker. And the stat coming into this, when they do the little stats at the bottom of the screen, was Britt Baker has won 7 of her last 11 matches. Which to me, is a stat that you put across to someone who, you know, is shit hot, someone who's on good form, someone who is getting, you know, what they got. And put on 3 minutes. Yuka won. Yeah, sorry, the stats. Yeah, that's where I was going. The statistics that AEW are starting to apply really separated from other wrestling shows. Very much so. So, should probably get that ice I was talking about. Can I not sit here? I can't even sit at the table. What sort of shit is that? Sure. Right. So, Yuka gets the surprise roll-up, beats Britt. Then Britt goes on a post-match beatdown of Yuka to the point where they either, again, I don't know if this is kayfabe or not, they're doing a very good job of keeping things under question until they reveal the actual answers, which is genius, by the way. I've missed the element of surprise so much from wrestling, and good surprises, not a surprise that makes me go, oh wow, what a surprise, not I don't get it, what have they got to do with this sort of surprise, which is what WWE specialize in, particularly over the last year. Keep doing this. This is the problem with multitasking when you're playing the game. I understand why people do it with pre-recorded content now, but I'm not in a position to do that because I don't care enough. I mean, I care enough to share an opinion and to make these videos, but I don't care enough to get editing software and all that. And I certainly don't have the money for all of it too. So, unless someone wants to sign me up onto one of their shows and me just be a part of it, then that's fine. What Culture Wrestling, Wrestle Talk. If you're looking for an extra boy, well, you've got me. I'm based in the UK. Yeah, I'm always watching wrestling, so I've always got stuff to talk about.
All bets are in. Let's get this started. 14. 6. One more card.
This is gonna bust.
Too many. Bust. Ooh, 17.
Yeah, so Yuka, yeah, again, don't know if this is kayfabe or not. Yuka Sakazaki coughs up a tooth. There's blood pouring from her mouth. She's broken off her tooth. Her tooth is snapped. She's in pain. Then Britt grabs her, puts her back in the lockjaw with a broken tooth, with blood in her mouth. And the image of that is the best Britt Baker has looked since arriving. So her being heel has just worked. Because, you know, I'll tell you why. Do you know why, right? And this is going to sound horrible, but this is really why. Men are not, as a generalization, men are not supportive of beautiful, smart women. Historically, they're quite intimidated by that. So a lot of guys, they won't cheer Britt. They wouldn't boo Britt. They would just accept that she was there, right? And when that happens, someone might as well just write nobody across your forehead. Because again, if no one's paying, you know, if no one's paying your way, then no one is going to care. No one is going to keep you around. No one is going to want to see your matches. Please be less than 8. Yes! Nice one.
Don't spend it as fast as you want it.
Hello, ladies. Want to take a selfie? I love how I say this right after the comment about, you know, sexist and shit. But no, it's true, you know, a beautiful, smart woman. I mean, guys just weren't getting on board with that, you know. They weren't. and no one can tell because I was listening to the crowd. They weren't. Some of the women were getting behind her, but that was it. Now that she's a heel, within a week, within 2 weeks, people are booing her, and they're booing her hard. You know, they're not just going like, this isn't like, who's a good example? Who's a good example of someone who gets booed, but it disappears quite quickly? Pac. You know, it's different. Brit sort of prolongs and lasts. Like, she is a heel. She will pull out some good moves, but she'll do it in a dastardly way to piss you off and make you squirm. As opposed to guys who get booed, but ultimately ends up getting cheered during the match because their moves and their ability are so over that the crowd just appreciate the good wrestling that they're watching, which is your situations like Pac and Lucha Brothers, who are guys who are heels, and they're supposed to be the guys who are being booed out of the building, but because the fans admire their ability so much, because the Lucha Brothers really are the second to the Young Bucks for being the best tag team in the world, and Pac really is one of the greatest that I've ever seen. I've seen Pac live when he was not even Neville, back when he was Adrian Neville. I've seen him as the NXT champion, and me and my dad were convinced that we've never seen a better wrestler live. And my dad's the sort of guy who would go see, you know, Undertaker and all the guys that you really know who would come up and visit to the UK quite a lot back in the day. You know, at that point. So 90s and late 80s. Yeah, my dad's seen a lot of great wrestlers, and he's adamant that Neville is the best he's ever seen. And I say, you know what, I completely agree. And this was a match against Bo Dallas, and I hate Bo Dallas. This was before I even knew I hated Bo Dallas, so I was being introduced to Bo for the first time, and Neville. I had never seen these guys before in my life. Bo Dallas comes out, and I'm like, okay, I get why he's developmental. And then I see Neville, and then I go, whoa, that dude's fucking jacked. Look at him. Like, he's a specimen. You know, he's just one of the guys you just look at, you think, whoa, he's a beast. He knows what he's doing. He knows he's strong, he's fast, he's athletic. This dude's a beast. And then he started wrestling. Oh, Pac is just something else. He really is. And I guarantee you that one day Pac will be the AEW champion. Someday soon. And he will be awesome. It'll look awesome. It'll sound awesome. And by God, he will put on some fucking amazing matches. That's my guarantee from me to you, if you are not a fan or a watcher of Pac already. I highly recommend that you should. We should go to the airport next. Fuck him. Oops. So, yes, Britt got the boos that she needed. She's in a good position. Yuka has the instant sympathy. And if we're going to do a title program for Riho, or potentially Nyla, depending on how next week goes, then I think at Revolution, Britt Baker and Yuka should finish this beef that they've potentially just started, because I think that's actually a good match to get the ball rolling. If not that, at least have a few Gaijin take on a few of the Joshi. I mean, people will want to see that. I would very much like to see it. I think it would be fantastic. You get Jamie Hayter and B. Priestley in there against a couple of Joshi. You know you're going to get a good match. So Britt Yuka is something I want to see continue. The broken tooth is a good reason to keep it going. It's very simple. It's your most basic of basic wrestling stories. They injured me, so I'm coming for revenge. There's nothing wrong with that. It's been done a billion times, but it's done a billion times in every single sport that requires you to injure your component, to injure your opponent in some way. You know, it's not just a wrestling thing. You know, in UFC, if someone loses, sometimes you take it, but if someone loses like a certain way, like they feel like that they were hit in, like, say their testicles too much or whatever, you know, they'll be like, nah, I want another shot at this guy. No, it's simple. That's how it works. It's personal. Personality, folks. That's what wrestling's missing, and that's what is being brought back to it. Oh, that was terrible. My God, we're only going 100. Very nice. Nice interior, actually. Santorno. The other thing, we'll get to my favorite match of the night soon. A couple of other ones to briefly go over first. Let's see, cover the women's match, covered that. Right, so the other match that took place was SCU versus... oh God. Was it Best Friends or was that last week? No, last week they faced Jack Evans and Angelico. So yes, this week SCU took on Best Friends, and in what was dubbed an unofficial #1 contenders match. It wasn't registered as a #1 contenders match, and I think I understand why. If the Best Friends had won, then the Best Friends would have moved up the rankings, and subsequently SCU would have moved down the rankings. But another thing for significance, if SCU won, seeing as they won against Hybrid 2, then they would, without a shadow of a doubt, be the #1 contenders by records, just by win-loss records. So this was a #1 contenders match for SCU. So if Best Friends had won, then you would say, okay, that would put them in a good position to become the #1 contender. But if SCU won again, it was okay, you are definitely the #1 contenders, even though you just lost the belts, because they went on 2 wins, and that's the only loss they took, because the previous record still counts for something, which is important, naturally. So SCU beat the Best Friends, which means Best Friends will not be getting their title shot yet, although they probably will at some point this year. But the title shot will indeed go to SCU. the former tag champs who already have a chance to win them back. And I got a little bit of flack of this on the AEW Discord chat. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's basically a group of select fans who are very passionate about wrestling, particularly AEW. We like to discuss many things, from fantasy booking to other promotions most of the time, actually, and rumors, all sorts of things. Anything that you can think of can be discussed within wrestling is usually discussed there. And I got quite a bit of flack for suggesting that there could be 2 title changes next week. For those of you who don't know, as I just said, SCU have a title match with Kenny Omega and Hangman for a chance to win them back, and Nyla Rose is facing Riho for the women's title. Yeah, I got a little bit of flack for saying that there's going to be 2 title changes, but to be honest, I don't really think I'm wrong about that. And that'll tie into the next match that I'm away to say. Not only SCU beat Best Friends fairly convincingly in order to become the #1 contenders again, but then, well, before that, it was either before that or was it after? I think it was before it. We had the 8-man tag match. I was so excited for this, because it is basically my favorites all in one match, with the exception of a couple of singles guys. But the group that brought us here, you know, minus Cody, it's the Elite. So the other 4 members of the Elite versus the Lucha Brothers and the Butcher and the Blade. Holy shit, did I love this. This was one of the best match. This was the best 8-man match that I've seen on Dynamite and Dark and in AEW in general. Just from the beginning, there was a good match once between Cody, Dustin, the Young Bucks, and I can't remember who the other 4 guys were. But that was a fairly good match. But this 8-man match was sublime. And yes, you can say it was just a spot fest, but what do you want? That's how the Young Bucks wrestle. If you want a boring wrestling match, go watch WWE. If you want a tag match where the tag guys think that they're singles guys in a 5-minute world title TV match, go fucking watch it. Because they are crazy. They want... Why do you think they hit all those moves? Because not only because they can, but they want to show you what they can do. And people hate them on it. You shouldn't show off. We don't want you to show off. It's like, just stop. Just stop right there. So, Young Bucks, Kenny, Hangman played their story beautifully. Butcher and the Blade were just 2 very powerful, angry men. The Lucha Brothers were the Lucha Brothers. But the Elite continue this Hangman Page story, and it is absolutely the best story in professional wrestling today. There is nothing better. There is no better story. It's not Edge and Orton. You know, when Orton, you know, just retired Edge. This isn't... yeah, this isn't the Cuck story with Rusev, Lana, Liv Morgan and Bobby Lashley, which Rusev has now been written out of, by the way. I think they did all this as a way to punish Rusev and get him to sign, but he hasn't signed, so now they've just had to write him out of his own punishment, I suppose. And we'll cover that in a different video when Rusev leaves WWE, which will happen. But yes, Hangman leaving the Elite is the best story in wrestling today. It's been done so well, and this was sold 100% to perfection by every member involved. This ended with Hangman doing kind of what he did with the titles, sort of one man showing it. Then the Young Bucks wanted to tag in. Hangman looks for the tag for Kenny first. So he's looking for Kenny. So he's willing to tag Kenny. Kenny's not there. Young Bucks are saying, oh well, tag us in. Hangman refuses. Hangman then proceeds to get his ass handed to him whilst the Young Bucks are taking off the ring apron. Hangman gets pinned by Pentagon, I believe. And it's bad accuracy. She was trying to sandwich me. Crazy woman, you cannot sandwich me. Just hide up here. Oh, why did it accelerate? Ha 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 ha. Okay. Right, sorry. Okay. Yeah, so Hangman gets pinned, the Elite are all pissed. This continues. Young Bucks goes in a backstage segment with Hangman, saying that Hangman will lose his titles next week if he continues to drink. I don't think that's like a threatening of like EVP talking to Hangman. This is them saying, no, you know, you're going to underperform and you're going to suck and you're going to lose. So I don't think like that there's any sort of conspiracy that the Young Bucks are going to come out and strip Hangman of his title and say replace him with a member of them. Who knows? Nah, I don't think they would. It's definitely more so you keep drinking, you're going to lose. And I think they're going to lose. Because why would they keep it a long reign? This is Kenny Omega and Hangman. This is part of a story. This is to add more to the rivalry to win the titles. I really believe that they're going to lose them quickly, because what would be the point in keeping it on them for a long time? You're just going to end up pissing people. People aren't pissed off with it right now because it's part of a story. It's part of an interlocking story. So now if someone loses the titles, that becomes just an extra, you know, thing to make the snap of Hangman actually happen. So therefore, I think it is way more likely to happen that they're going to lose the titles next week than they are to defend and lose them at Revolution. So I've got SCU retaining the titles. I've got SCU reclaiming the titles next week. I'd be very surprised if Hangman and Omega retained. It's all part of the story. And as far as I know, the Young Bucks, Hangman and Kenny aren't part of programs for Revolution. I thought they might stretch Pac and Kenny out to Revolution, but they're only stretching it to the Dynamite before. So I was close, but the Dynamite before Revolution, Kenny Omega is getting his rubber match with Pac, or Pac is getting his rubber match with Kenny. And that will be a 30-minute Iron Man match. Very much looking forward to that as well. So we know that Omega's not doing anything with Pac for Revolution, and that basically opens up the Hangman door. You know, whether they do go into Revolution as tag champions or not. If they don't, then maybe it's going to be Hangman versus Kenny. Or that's maybe a match they could save for quite a while. And I'm just saying this right now. I think Hangman versus Kenny would be a 5-star match. Like, I can say that with a lot of confidence, that because of the story that's going on behind the scenes, this match will be very critically acclaimed, and that's just awesome. But so yeah, because of the story, I think they're going to drop the titles next week, but they lost on the day. Lucha Brothers have pinned the champions, and the Butcher and the Blade win again. Butcher and the Blade, very much the 50-50 booking team of the tag division. They win, they lose, they win, they lose. They won again. Sorry, they lost again last time. So they've had to win again to put it back onto level terms. They've got the 6-man win as well, so chances are the Butcher and the Blade will lose their next one. I hope that's not the case, though. They are my favorites, so I naturally hope that. I just naturally hope that Butcher and the Blade win the titles at some point. Whoa, he dodged that one. Oh, you bitch. Oh. Am I forgetting any matches? Am I forgetting any matches? Don't think I am. What was the main event? What was the main event from the last show? Oh yeah, it was the whipping. Then the SCU. I think we've covered it. I think I've finally covered the show. I took my time, but I got there in the end. I have covered AEW Dynamite. And yeah, there's a lot of gaps, a lot of pauses. Probably could have done this in about half an hour less if I wasn't playing a game. But hey, that's the way this was recorded, so that's the way it was recorded. Oh, they popped my tire. Oh, and now they're ramming me. That's not very nice. Oh, fuck off. Oh, the other tire's gone now. Oh. Fuck it, I'm gonna have to cheat. No, I'm not gonna stop the car because you're just gonna shoot me. They really need to rethink what these NPCs say.
How can I help? So you don't want to get in serious
Whoa.
trouble, huh? Okay, leave it with me.
Nice. Dealt with. Sorted. But yes, that is the wonders of AEW that's going on, along with some other stuff outside discussed before. Thank you for tuning in. This was different. I very rarely do this. And Casper BTW M8, I didn't see your comments earlier, and I apologize, but my console is set up in a way so the comments don't pop up. Very nice to see you commenting, Casper. Hopefully I will see you again in the future. And for anyone else who has paid attention to this video, well, I'm not expecting you to have listened to all of this because it's very long. You don't know who I am, and why would you listen to a random guy talk on and on for a couple of hours? It's just what I do, I suppose. Thank you for listening. Thank you for even acknowledging this video's existence. Love pro wrestling, love each other, and honk at those women. Yeah, what she said. See you later, guys.